Ready to embrace the magical side of life, where anything is possible and the infinite is accessible to all? Let's have a conscious conversation about what's going on in the world, in your life, and your relationship from the expanded perspective of your soul. The path to awareness begins and ends in the heart. So let's take it there, one step at a time, and learn to cultivate magic in your life every single day. In each episode, we share a collective space in which we discover the unique facets of our own magic and embody our superhuman qualities by humbly exploring how it's super simply to be human. Hosts Kathi and Dell co-create a magical experience to remind you that you are magical as fuck. Now, be unleashed. This is our daily magic.
And we're live.
Okay. A lot of trickle effect of people are coming in. Oh, no.
And for all of y'all that are listening,
let us know. I'm going to share this into the invite too, so that way people have the link to it. There we go. Oh, people are here already. Okay.
hi, Christian. Hey, Garrett. Welcome to the live stream.
Oops. It's funny. I was looking at the live. I was like, wait, this is the wrong one. This is the one we did yesterday. Okay. You ever had those moments where you're looking at something and you go in the wrong one? You go into the wrong wrong place. So like in that situation, which was me. Like those type of things where you think you're doing something, but then you're doing something from like in another way. So we are here, we are live, and let's get it going. People will come in, and we appreciate you, the ones who are here already. We're gonna have some fun today. And for those of you who don't know, welcome to another exciting episode of our Daily Magic podcast. In this podcast, what we're gonna do is have a magical conversation with a very magical guest who is gonna showcase their own unique magic to us. Our intention with every conversation that we have is, one, you, whoever's listening and whoever's watching this, gets to discover just how magical you are and to be able to take some tools from this conversation to incorporate more magic into your own life. So I am one half the co-host, Dell, and this is...
I'm Kathi, and I have the pleasure of introducing Wil Carlos, our esteemed guest today. And Wil dreams of a world where people everywhere are just clear about their relationship with God, or the God of their understanding. Wil helps women in business clarify their relationship with themselves, with the divine, have inner peace, not freak outs. And, with being seen online and expanding their business to the next level. Using his spiritual gift of clairaudience, Wil has delivered his signature belief clearing sessions with over 500 people in 28 countries. Wil has honed his direct, honest, and no-fluff approach to help his clients end self-sabotage and lack of clarity about their own personal spirituality. he describes, or his clients describe him as a human polygraph, and will help his clients see exactly where they have been subconsciously staying safe so that they can shift from burnout to ease. Wil believes the most effective strategy is being all of you. How profound.
So I was saying before we came here live that I had a tons of questions that I was going to save and wait until this conversation happens. I'm going to wait a little bit more because what I love to find out first that enables the conversation to go is to learn more of how our guests discover their magic. So that was my very first question I had for you, Wil, was what was the journey for yourself to discover this magic that you have and share with the world?
Yeah, so I'll share my medium length story. I always find too often we share the long version, but many people on this live will not know anything about me. So you really don't need to know about my childhood necessarily. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. And the short version is too much. People say, oh, well, the way that I quit alcohol is I just decided one day. I'm like, that's a total load of bollocks. I mean, yes, the very last step is you decided, but there was a whole bunch of mini steps that you don't acknowledge that came before that. So I'll try and share the medium version. So my gifts, I mean, it did start when I was a kid, but only because I am able to look back and see that I was able to tell when my family and my friends were kind of full of crap. But at the time, I had so much ego and so much of me mixed up in that I was just looking to be right. I just wanted to be bigger and better and right more of the time. So there's no way that I could trust that inner guidance that was telling me that, hey, my dad just said everything's fine, but I know he's full of crap. Or my mom just said, we have the money to buy these school photos, but I know that we don't. So I wasn't able to actually trust that inner knowing. So much later in life, I became a life coach and I got into all the different kinds of energy healing that I could get my hands on, theta and vortex healing and Reiki. And I dabbled or got certificates in everything I could find, but nothing really clicked and nothing seemed to live up to the promises that it gave. I don't think it was their fault. I think it was me. I just had too much ego and too much of myself in the way. But then I did finally find a modality called energetic magic with a guy in Toronto, his name's Shiraz. And that it brought it all full circle and it had it all click. And I was able to now do this thing and to do it reliably, where I can have a conversation with a client who says, oh, I really want to be more seen online. I really want to be more visible. I want to put me out there. I want to sign clients and get my book out to the world. But really hiding here behind the mic where you can't see it is this little tiny thing. And it's called a big pile of bullshit. Or sorry, I forgot to ask if I could swear. It's your lie. It's it's that thing that you're not saying. And that's what I've built my business on identifying is what is that little thing when you're really stuck, when you think, man, I really want more clients, but it's not happening. Or I really want to be on more podcasts, but it's not happening. It's not happening because you've got limiting beliefs or an energetic pattern or whatever you want to call it. But I call it the lie. It's that little thing where you're just out of alignment. So yeah, that's the medium version of the gift. And kind of the funniest story that I can share about when I first knew that I had it, I was at my wedding, but it was my second wedding because my wife and I got married twice. We got married the first time, the big Fufura in Nova Scotia where I grew up, but we couldn't make it legal because we weren't in the province. There was some arbitrary number, it was like 15 days and we were only there for 14 days. And so we were not legally married. And our friends made fun of us all the time about, hey, you're not really, it's just a sham. You're not really married. So they put on another wedding for us a year to the day. And a friend showed up and he was all excited about this new business venture and all these things that he was doing. And for the first time, or one of the first times, I saw on his body basically like words that said, I need my dad's approval. And I blurted it out because at the time I was not a professional yet. And so I just said, Jason, it's okay. You don't need to get your dad's approval. You can just have a great life and build your business. And his jaw hit the floor because he hadn't said anything about his dad or family or anything. And his jaw hit the floor and went, how did you, he was speechless. He didn't know what to say. Fast forward many years later, I don't just drop those bombs at a party or with people that haven't asked or paid me. I've learned a lot of lessons about that, but that is kind of a bit of the origin story.
Wow.
Have you guys seen the movie? What was it? Was I think Scary Movie 3? Have you guys seen Scary Movie 3?
No.
Okay. So have you heard or seen the movie Sixth Sense?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So in Scary Movie 3, this kid, he had the same type of abilities like that kid in Sixth Sense, but the way that he used it was pretty much like what you're talking about doing, like dropping those truth bombs on people. So he was just walking around saying stuff like, he's cheating on you. You smoke and you try to hide it. So like,
Right.
as soon as you tell the story, it remind me of that kid that's going around, that's dropping that stuff, and then you realize that, wait, I gotta pick the times of when I'm gonna do that. And it's that right there is a great statement, because like, even though like we know like that BS meter, when it's like zzz, it's knowing when to actually drop it for people and when to just like let people be for it, because like some people are just not ready for that illusion.
Yeah. I also find it's about like the classic example I can give is we've all been, or many of us have been to, spiritual fairs or expos or personal development ones. And I remember going to one when I first moved back to Nova Scotia. So we've been here about 4 years.
Yeah.
And I was walking along and like exploring things. And I had my baby girl with me at the time. I think she was on my front or my back. And I'm walking along. And then this woman says, oh, darling, your aura is just, and she goes on to describe my aura and all the wonderful things about my energy. And my initial, the narcissistic part of me is like, oh, this is wonderful. Someone sees me. But then very quickly it started to feel a little funny. And then I realized why, because I never asked her. I didn't even approach her booth properly. I didn't even I was on my way up to or walking past, and her need to help became more important than actually being of service.
Mm-hmm.
And I had and it took me years to name that. And now it's the main thing that I work with people and clients on. But at the time I didn't know what it was. I knew it felt, I don't like this, like something a little funny, like a lovely person, but something's a little off. And I think it's the same kind of thing, knowing the timing, knowing when.
Yeah. Do you feel like, because the term that came into my mind right there, thinking about it, is like an energetic predator. Like instead of asking permission to read you and offering it to you, just straight up like, hey, like energy's doing this type of thing. It's like feels a little predatory to me, I feel like.
Yeah, I think maybe it goes in degrees. The term that I've coined now that I use in all my work is, I call it the helper's paradox.
Helpless paradox.
And it's the more that we need to help, the less able we are to actually help.
Wow.
So her need to help destroyed any chance of me even becoming a client and getting the deeper benefits of her work, because she had a need. Now we're always, as light workers, healers, whatever we're called, we're always going to have a need. But if that need is the biggest thing in the room, then we're done. And our clients, I believe our clients can't get the results that they want. And I think what you're pointing to, that energetic predator, we know what that feels like. That feels like that's maybe healer's paradox to the max, where it actually feels, ooh, like I really want to get, I need to leave right now. So I think it's all on the spectrum, but different degrees.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, I want to acknowledge you in the conversation that you just mentioned so nonchalantly, and it was so powerful, was acknowledging your narcissistic side, which that word in the realms, it seems like it's like throwing holy water on like a demon type of thing, because people don't want to talk about that for them, but it's easy to talk about it for everyone else besides them. So I wanted to acknowledge you for that, because it just shows that the work that you've done to be able to integrate that part of you.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that.
So now how does this superpower relate to, you serving people? I think you mentioned women in business specifically.
Yeah. So the lie detector superpower.
Yeah. Or, just what it is that you do generally.
Yeah. So with women in business, I mean, my kind of specialty is the spiritual businesses. So healers and coaches and therapists. And they have this deep desire to be of more service and to work with more people, but they have this little inner freak out that happens every time they want to get more visible or be more seen online, or have clear, even sometimes with clear sales conversations, like to be able to say, hey, you seem like a really great, after you've had an intake or you've had at an appropriate time stage of the relationship, to be able to say, you seem really great. I think you would get this kind of result if we work together. I would like to work with you. Would you like to work with me? But to get to that point, to be able to say that both in person and especially online, like to make videos or to apply to podcasts and put yourself out there like that, it brings up the imposter complex or syndrome. We call it either one. I believe, and what I'm discovering now at the foundation is our relationship with the divine, our relationship with ourselves, and that those are more important. And once we address that, once you know who you are, you can put you out online quite easily. But if you are unclear about your boundaries or how much you're people pleasing or any self-doubt that you have, then trying to put that mess out online, well, of course you feel unsafe. Of course it feels inauthentic and weird and wrong because you don't have clarity on you yet. So that's my work with clients, is helping them to get clear on those places where they're overriding. It was just in a session today, I was talking about this, overriding that, it's not time yet, or that you're not clear, or you're lacking confidence, but you say, oh, I should make this live. I should apply to this pod. And so you override it, and then it goes terribly because you're not aligned with this action. It's like putting your hand out to stop a door, and it's just going to crush your hand because you're going, I'm just going to put my hand out, instead of actually putting your body and then stopping the door quite easily. So that's the brand new analogy from this morning that came up, was that's when you put yourself out there online, but you're not aligned with you and your deeper self. It's like, hey, I'm just going to put my fingers out. And of course you're going to get hurt. That hurts.
I love that. And you also said something earlier, about, alignment that just like totally inspired something. It was, if you're not doing what you're meant to be doing in the moment, then it's just a lie.
We got some comments.
Yeah, we do.
Some comments and a question too. Just wanted to show the love that you're receiving in here. So Kimberly Ann said, it's like the feeling of, am I helping the person or am I hurting the person because of my gifts? And David Magnus says, narcissist is such an overused and often misused label.
Yes.
Yeah. And then you have a question, Wil, so it's from Christian. Christian says, how does how you work with women specifically differ for when you work with men?
Yeah, great question. Excuse me. And I wanted to clarify with Kimberly, was she asking that as a question, or was it a reflection? It seems like it might have been a question, but I just wanted to clarify in case she was looking for a comment on that. And so for Christian's question, so I definitely have male clients. So for example, David, who left a comment, I know he wouldn't mind sharing. We've done sessions before. He's been in my monthly mentorship group before. Like, we've worked together, I think it's been a year, maybe 2 years, off and on little bits. So I have lots of male clients. Sorry, I have a few male clients. I shouldn't say lots at all, but it's just mostly it's women. So there are 4 questions that I've always used in my business work that I kind of came up with. Probably someone told me these questions and I just think that I came up with them, and I really didn't. They're really from someone else. So whoever that is, I apologize. But the first question was, who do I love working with and who loves working with me? And with that question, I had to get really clear on, like, well, I enjoy working with everyone, but I love working with this certain type of woman. And they're usually of a certain age. They're usually of a certain background. There's usually some religious baggage. There's usually that they're moms and they've been doing a lot of people pleasing and giving themselves away all the time. And they need to get back to themselves and owning who they really are to be able to put that out in the world. And it's just, this may piss off some people, but it's just very different for men. Like, this has never been a concern for me. I've never been so engaged in my family that I forget to take care of myself. I always eat. I always make myself lunch. I don't get so wrapped up in parenting that I forget to eat or drink water or do my yoga in the morning. If my wife is really busy and I didn't have time for yoga, I'm doing my yoga and my daughter can play or do coloring. I'm not sacrificing myself
Mm.
in that way for my daughter. And I have found, and people may disagree, but I found that that's kind of a masculine, feminine thing. It's not a man woman thing. It's a masculine, feminine thing. And women have this tendency to martyr themselves, which is a beautiful thing when it comes to our world and where it's at. And we need more people who are willing to look at the world and what's going on, and or your community or your family, whatever level of concern you have. But those people also need a great deal of support. So when I'm working, so that's a kind of a long answer, but when I'm working with men, I'm looking for kind of different lies. I'm looking for different ego traps. I'm looking for different layers of bullshit. When it's with women of a certain, and again, it's of a certain type, and these are the women that seem to come and want to work with me. It's a little bit more, I kind of know what doors I'm opening. So when it comes to men, it may not be the same doors. It may be other doors. So I kind of have to step back. It takes me a little bit longer because, yeah, I have to do the initial filtering first.
Yeah.
Hope that makes sense.
Yeah. And do you feel that like working with women as opposed to men, women are able to open up more easier as opposed to a man who's like really in their ego?
No. And that may just be the kinds of, it may just be the kinds of men that are drawn to working with me, and women as well. Like it may just be based on that, but I don't find any difference in the ability to open up. The biggest difference that I see is that it's just the social conditioning. It's the religious I think the religious programming hits both genders very differently. So women, not just Christianity, also Judaism, also Islam, but mostly it's Christian background that I would work with. Not that they are Christians, but they grew up Christian, or some of them still are Christian as well, or identify as that. But with men, like we just receive completely different messages. And it's taken me a few years to be willing to even talk about this in case someone wants to come and attack me in my home. Because we have a lot of stuff around gender. Like this, it's an important conversation. And I am, frankly, I grew up straight and I am straight. I grew up white and I am white. I grew up privileged and I am it's all that. So for me to talk about this, it's taken a while to be willing to even open my mouth. But men, we just receive different programming from the church or from even if you didn't grow up in the church, generally in society, men have received very different messages. So that's the biggest difference that I see is with the guys, there's less programming BS to get through until we get to the core of it, because they just didn't get as much. They got different stuff, be strong, don't cry, but that's not my work. My work is a different journey. Sorry, that was a really long answer.
No, it was a very good one too. And you started to unpack something that, definitely a great conversation to have. Not even just on the race side of things and acknowledging that. That's another word analogy for just acknowledging that part. There's a lot of people out there who can't get to that point of acknowledging the universal theme of what's going on in the world, but also with the men aspects of, like you said, be tough, don't cry. And that's something that a lot of us men experience as children and also growing up in the child, like school wise and stuff like that. And for me personally, my own journey of like holding all that stuff in and not expressing it all the time, I became a volcano in certain moments when like all this suppression just couldn't take it anymore. And all it took is one little thing and boom, flipping out type of thing. So I definitely understand that with the program. And even on the religious side of stuff, I grew up in the Christian faith, and I just remember just how the hierarchy thing, like the man and the woman, this type of thing. And also the shame towards a woman for biting the apple first and all this other stuff. And a lot of things in there that was geared towards like shaming the women and also putting that feminine energy down. And I'm glad we're like in this shifting stage of consciousness right now in which a lot of people are starting to see how equally important both sides are together and how important each role plays and like really the evolution of humanity.
Yeah. And I forget the quote and I forget who it was from, but the reason why I work with women predominantly as well is because of this kind of quote or the thinking that I've had, that if you want to finish a project, like train the man or masculine. If you want to make sure the community thrives, train the feminine, train the woman. And both have their place. Both are really good things. But we as a society have put way too much emphasis on getting that project done. And so we go, oh, men. But that's the same as prizing the warrior instead of the magician or mage. Like the warrior should only be 2% of the time. The rest of the time should be magic. The rest of the time should be the mage or the magician. But we get it a little funky. And so that's a big part of why I work with women, because I want them to have the freedom to be fully themselves. It's the whole kit and caboodle, is the permission to be fully you. Yeah.
Thank you. And we have a couple of comments that I definitely wanted to bring to light here. And so a couple of comments. One's from Kitty, and then Kitty mentioned and said, makes me wonder if I'm not supposed to be doing this at all. That's interesting. I wonder what part of the conversation had her say that. Kitty, if you're still listening, just elaborate more on that. Would love to know exactly what part of the conversation had you come to that conclusion of what you wrote. And also she wrote, I just don't feel in self-alignment anymore. So maybe that's it. She answered the question right there. She doesn't feel in self-alignment anymore. And Wil, if you have anything you want to ask her or suggest to her, feel free.
Yeah. So Kitty, if you're able to type in, so I see down at the bottom, the permission to be fully me. It was about the alignment because I don't feel in alignment. So yeah, so Kitty, I'd ask what doesn't feel in alignment? Is it as a business or healer wanting, like, the need to get clients or market yourself? Is that what's out of alignment? Is it I'll explain that Twitch in just a second. So yeah, is it about the business and the marketing and wanting to put yourself out there to get clients? Or is it alignment because it's just been so long and it's not working? Like what doesn't, that's a whole can of worms. Yes, it is a whole can of worms. That's why it feels out of alignment, because it's the analogy I use sometimes is when you wake up in the morning, if you just have a light blanket on, great, you take it off. It's easy to start the day. But if you've got 10 weighted blankets, call them shame blankets or blankets of shame, BS, or belief systems. So bullshit, belief systems, blankets of shame, all the same stuff. If you've got 10 of those on, just to get them off, you're exhausted before you can start the day. So yeah, it feels like a big can of worms. So Kitty, so I fear if I'm not in alignment, I should not be putting myself out there. But ow. But at the same time, I'm kind of a raw person, and some resonate with that. Okay. So the twitching, sorry, I didn't even put it in my bio. I apologize. When I twitch, it's just energy moving. So I'm aware of energy. When I yawn, it's because there's movement. When I twitch, it's because there's something kind of like a metal detector on a beach, and you're walking down the beach, and then it starts to beep. It's because, there's something there. So it's just my body's way of letting me know, there's something here. I may sometimes I get an idea right away. Sometimes I got to ask questions and dig a little deeper. So Kitty, so Kitty, can I offer a clearing or a thought?
Anyone who's willing. Got it. We can also bring you on screen.
Yeah.
So just let us know.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So yeah, we Katie, could definitely do.
Yeah. So Katie, if you'd like to come on screen, you can let us know.
Yeah. Oh, this will be fun. Yeah, Kitty, if you're interested, let us know. We'll bring you on to get a live session. Oh, she says, sorry, my internet keeps falling out.
Okay. I'll just do my best with your comments. Okay, so the part that was dinging. So how to get on screen.
Oh, let's do it.
Okay, awesome. I'll send you a message, Kitty.
Check your DM, Kitty. We're about to send you a message with a link to join us. This is cool. It's candid.
I like it because it's like an old school call-in radio show.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I like that. And then also like you get to see you live to showcase your magic. And even not even for us to see, but for our guests or our audience to see as well. And for you guys who are listening and watching this live, what I would suggest for you is to watch this and listen to this as if it is you receiving this, because this message will be for you as well. Just listen to this and receive the message that resonates with you, and share some comments, and let's support Kitty as she's getting on here as well. This is a collective space, and we love to share this space to help people to receive what they're looking for, but also we get to receive as well. So let's set this container and let's show the support for Kitty and show some love for her as she steps into this, because it's going to be a magical conversation.
Yeah. And so as Kitty's coming on, for everyone that's listening or watching, so something that Kitty's pointing to is it's a big thing that somewhere, if it doesn't feel safe to be seen, to be you, there's somewhere that it became not safe to be you, where you were shut down. So my 4.5-year-old daughter doesn't have that. She just literally walks around in high heels that don't fit, with a bandana on, singing Frozen songs, holding her teddy, and like trailing blueberries behind her as she dances around in a circle. Like she just doesn't care at all. So somewhere we learned that it's not safe to be you, that it's not okay to be you. So here's the first belief clearing that, and you can say a yes or a no. And this is for anybody and everybody. So the belief, the belief that the more you be, the less safe you are. How? Would you be willing to destroy that belief at the point of creation?
Wow.
Oh, here we go.
It's good timing.
And David said yes. Allison,
am I here?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. I don't see me.
Have you turned on the video?
Oh, there's a big delay.
We'll work it. We'll do our best.
Oh, there I am.
There you are. Hi, Kathy. Okay. So not in alignment. So which part isn't in alignment? Is it that you want to make a video, but you can't, for example, or you want to market or promote in some way, but you can't? Or is it a step before that?
Can you hold on and let me put this on my phone? It's delaying and it's double playing.
Okay.
If you still have the Facebook Live going, I would suggest turning off the Facebook Live, so that way you only hear the one conversation.
Okay. So Kathi will come back.
Yep. And in the meantime, you had a couple of yeses. So I mentioned a yes from David, a yes from Allison, a yes from Christian, and a yes from Kimberly.
Oh, and I saw Kathi says, terrified and in my jammies, raw. So for Kitty, so that I don't forget this one, because I had a similar belief, and I can't remember the exact words now, but we'll go with what's coming up for you. So it's something like the belief that being, this is definitely going up. The belief that if you get more polished or the belief that if you get more polished or professional, people will expect more from you.
Oh, I just caught the end of that, but it really resonated.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see if you're willing to clear that one. So the belief that if you get more polished or professional, people will expect more from you. Would you be willing to destroy that at the point of creation?
Destroy the belief
Yes.
that if I get better, people will expect more. Okay, yes. I don't like that.
Okay.
And it's really, I'm not twitching, but it's really dinging and resonating in here and in here, like in some chakras.
Yep. So, and that's great. So things can already be moving. And when you said yes to that, it doesn't come up as true.
Probably
So
not.
Yeah. And that's okay. Part of the reason why some people get uncomfortable about this work sometimes is because we've been taught to believe that lying is bad, but that's not necessarily true. If you're lying, because what you're saying, it's not actually a lie. It's just, it's incongruent. It's out of congruency. So it's not like you're lying to hurt anyone or you're lying intentionally. It's just that this is not lined up with this. So there's nothing wrong. If you say
I'm out of alignment.
Exactly. So if you say yes and you mean it, and I go, oh, sorry, that's a no, it's not a negative thing. It's not a bad thing. You're not going to hell or you're not failing the test. Now we just know, like, oh, okay, so that wasn't the thing, or you're not yet willing on that. So let's find out which other way we're going to go.
I feel like that I've been so closed off lately that I am just barely opening up to start to be willing. And so, yeah, that maybe there's some things that just aren't ready.
Yeah.
In fact, if I can go off on a tangent for a minute, I know that you sent me, it's probably that free clearing that everybody's been talking about for my birthday last year. And I never took advantage of it because I couldn't, because I wasn't
timing.
I wasn't ready. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And now I'm really jealous because everybody's had one except for me.
Well, if you listen in for the end of the show, you can find out more.
Okay.
So yeah, so there's probably, so I'm going to ask you a truth question, and your job is to answer with a yes or a no based on the energy that comes up, not what your brain wants to say.
Okay.
So truth, people expect too much of you.
I'm sorry, it's really warring in my brain because I know I expect too much of me and I can't get past that.
Yeah.
I can't get to a yes or no because I'm still in my own. Does that make sense?
It does. And so normally if we were in a session, I would have corrected myself right away because the words were off, but because we're live in a show, I thought I'd just give it a bit more space. So how it more so comes up is truth. Oh, so what? Hold on. Had it. Oh, truth. You need to do better for other people.
Again, it's all me. Yes, I feel like I need to do better.
Yeah. So part of what I'm picking up on is that there is that I need to do better, or I haven't done enough, or I need to do more as like a baseline. But I think part of where the unwillingness to be more visible or be more seen is because then there'd be even more people expecting things of you because you're over giving or doing the people pleasing or giving. So does that resonate or does that not resonate?
It does, in a weird, twisted way. In my weird, twisted brain.
Yeah, well, one thing that comes up all the time for healers, especially energetic kinds of healers, or anyone who considers himself an empath, which is actually the whole world, but that's another conversation. They don't want to work with too many people because they take on some of the pain, suffering, or struggle that each person is going through. So they can only handle 3 or 4, maybe 5 clients before they implode, because they just can't handle all of that responsibility. So that's what I'm pointing at.
Okay. Yeah, I do feel that sometimes a lot. I can only do like 2 or 3, maybe 3 readings a day at max. Yeah, that makes sense. And I know that. And so I've told myself I'm not going to do more than that. And I think that's a safe, good boundary to have. And I don't feel bad about that boundary.
Right. So that's probably part of the out of alignment that you're feeling, because if your inner being, your higher self, whatever you want to call it, desires to be more seen and visible, but you call it your ego, whatever you like, your brain, you have decided I can only do so much, then they're at odds. Maybe your visibility is going to explode in an entirely different way that has nothing to do with how many clients you see in a day or how many sessions you can handle. Maybe you end up writing a book, or maybe you get on some big show and they interview you, and that one interview becomes this piece of content that serves the world. Like, you have no idea, but at the moment your humanness has decided I can only handle this much. And so you're unwilling to take on more or be more seen or expand any larger.
That resonates.
Yeah. So the belief that if you expand any more, you might die or explode or whatever you want to call it. Would you be willing to destroy that at the point of creation?
Not yet. I want to say yes, but then I checked myself and I'm like, no, it won't sink in. Yeah.
It brings up some emotion.
Uh-huh. Fear.
Because I could see you and feel you have that emotion, and then you went, nope, no, not gonna have that right now, which is totally fine. You can have or not have any emotions that you want to right now.
Yeah, I'm just, yeah,
and that's fine. So, but that is the thing. Like, and there may be other things, there may be other places where you're overwhelmed, but it's kind of like there's nowhere, like they may all kind of like if you get colds all the time, it may be that you've got energetic malfunctions, or your chakras are off, or this or this. But the first thing you should look at: am I drinking enough water? Am I eating well? Mm-hmm. There's nothing else to look at until you look at those. So this is that. It's this belief around where you're taking on, and this is the helper's paradox that we talked about, where you're taking on your client stuff, and so you can only handle so much. So you're unwilling to grow any bigger because you can barely handle what you're doing now, energetically, emotionally.
Right.
But that all stems from the belief that you need to help, or that you're responsible. You're not responsible.
Oh, some stuff just clicked. I don't know what it even is yet, but I just felt a bunch of stuff just clicked.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Okay, cool. So how does that feel at the moment? Does that feel better, worse, the same, or different from when we started?
Clear. I feel more clear.
Okay,
I don't know that I feel better, but I feel more clear, and that will lead to better.
Okay,
you know what I mean? Yeah.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Well, thanks for playing. Thanks for jumping up live and being here.
We hijacked your whole thing. Thank you, everyone, for letting us hijack.
Spontaneous magic.
Yes. Yeah, thank you for jumping on, Kathi.
Yeah, that's bravery.
Well, thank you for having me, and yeah, this is really neat. This is not something that I normally. I haven't even combed my hair today.
I need a haircut too. It's okay.
But that's what happens when we try something new. We get new results. So this is you trying something new, and you're able to get some new results for your life.
Yeah.
And the crowd loves it too. Allison said, "Thank you, Kitty."
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So for those of you who are still here watching this, write in the comments, what is your takeaway from this conversation that just went down?
And David has a question. David's asking if there are any effective tips on how to allow others' energy to move, to more easily flow through us.
Yeah, great question. So I have two answers for that, or two parts of the same answer. The first is there's a practice called energy pulling, which I got/stole from Access Consciousness. They do a lot of great work. But I've done a few little tweaks to it. So I think I even have a free one up on my website. It's about creating your own reality, where you literally just like get rid of everyone else, or rather you get rid of everyone else's influence on you and your reality. And you practice pulling energy so that you're more fluid and in flow with your energy. So that's kind of a daily practice that you can do. But then the much more important part is this. So I take the case that for anything in my life, I have a belief about it. So if things are amazing in my relationship, I have a belief about that, or probably a set of beliefs about that. If I'm not making the money that I want to make, I've got a belief about that. So if other people's energies are not flowing through you very well, you've got a belief about that. Some kind of belief of, probably something to do with yourself. Something like, I'm not good enough, or I'm not doing enough, or any of those not enoughness is. There's something like that going on where it's about you, because you've got a judgment about you. So think of that like a bit of Velcro. So the judgments come, or other people's energies come at you. And because you've got self-judgment, that judgment goes and it just sticks to you, or like a magnet. So it can't just flow through. So once you clear and complete the cycle of all those things and the judgments and the limiting beliefs about yourself, you'll no longer create situations and experiences to validate those beliefs. So a quick example on that, I used to work with a guy in a restaurant. It was my first fancy restaurant that I ever worked at. It was years ago. And he was an asshole. And he was the bartender, and he treated me like shit. And I just always in my face, and we didn't get along. And then one night I complained to a coworker to say, man, this bartender, he's such an asshole. And this coworker looked at me in the face and said, excuse me? Don't you remember what you said to him on his first shift here? I said, no, what are you talking about? And they reminded me that I had said to this really high class bartender about the drink, it doesn't need to be perfect, just get me the drink. Because I was totally in the crapper and I just needed the drink right now. But me saying that to him is like saying to a doctor, like, it doesn't really matter. Just slap some bandages on. Like, it just insulted the core of this man's work at that time in his life. And so my coworker reminded me of this, and I realized, oh my God, I'm the asshole. He's not an asshole. It's me. I'm the asshole. So the next day I went and I talked to the bartender, and I said, you probably don't remember this, but I'm so sorry. I'm an asshole. I just really wanted to apologize. And he pretended like he didn't remember, but I could see in his eyes that he very much remembered exactly what I was talking about. Within 3 days, he got a new job offer for a better restaurant, better pay, and I never saw him again. Because all the stuff within me that was sticking this judgmental guy in my world went away. And so he disappeared. So that's the example that I give about if you're holding on to other people's energy, I would look at first, like, I don't love why questions, but why is this bugging me so bad? This thing that my wife said, why is that bugging me? Oh, because it was a comment on my ability to provide for the family, and I'm not providing well enough. I need to be better. I should be better at making money or providing or taking care of the house, whatever it is. So that's the more useful place to look. And once you address those, now the energy just flows on through. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's magic.
The dropping assholes magic.
And the title of your next book.
It
watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine show?
Yeah.
I think of Santiago. Title of your next sex tape.
Wow. Wow. So I'm curious too. Like, do you feel that anyone can do what you do? Or do you feel like you're made for this, or both?
I don't know. I think I often think about that because it really bugs me. For example, with languages, I love Spanish and French. I was able to learn conversational Spanish in about 3 weeks when I was in Spain when I was in my early 20s. And my family loves to say about that and music, because I play guitar, and they love to say, "Oh, but you have a natural talent. You have a natural ear." And I say, "Do you have any, like, I spent thousands and thousands and thousands of hours developing my ear, what they want to call your ear." So maybe I had an initial interest, which led to increased talent, which was a feedback loop on itself. And the same with this. I've always been, for better or worse, obsessed with like telling the truth and being totally honest. And so that probably developed a natural propensity to be more aware of these things. So I don't know. I know that people, like, I just had a client today who, it was her last session with me. We worked together for off and on for a year and a half, I think. And she had this awareness about a potential investment where she and her husband were potentially investing a lot of money in something. But she said, "I feel uneasy about it. There's something that's off." So we had a very short conversation, and she finally identified, oh, there's an awareness. She has an energetic awareness that this investment is not a stable idea, that the group is not yet stable. It might be someday, but it's not right now. So without giving her any investment advice or actual advice, I was just able to help her see her own energetic awareness that she already knew. So I believe that we all have this, but our indicators are different. So for our First Nations or Indigenous peoples, they would have said things more like, "Oh, the wind is telling me," or "the robin told me this morning," or the water, like something's going on in the water. We've got bad weather on the way. So those were some of the signs. Other people might say, "Oh, I can see auras. I can," like that woman at the fair, "I can see your chakras and they're telling me these things." So that's why for so long, I didn't know that I had this gift, because I was looking for all of those indicators. And then finally I realized, oh, I like hear things, or like I can sense this like energetic dip, which I then learned was called clairaudience. There's a name for it. There's clairsentience and
Voyance.
what are the other ones?
Voyance.
Yes, thank you. Clairvoyance. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a knowing, like a clair. Anyways, there's a bunch of
The Claires.
The Claires.
Yeah. So allowing your magic to show up the way that it wants to show up for you, instead of how you have seen it show up for others. And that it's tough, because it might look so different that no one's ever seen it before, and you have no frame of reference. And that might take a little bit of sussing it out.
Yeah. Christian says, "That makes sense about your client's energetic awareness. I have the same kind of conversations with my clients as a tarot reader."
Yeah. Yeah.
So interesting.
And then Peter asked, "What's the name of your book?"
Oh, yes, there's a question.
Yeah.
Oh, name of my book. The name of my book is already taken. Another brilliant energy worker, Dane here, wrote a book called "Being You, Changing the World." And now I look back, I'm like, damn you, Dane. But I can't actually be mad, because he's pretty brilliant. So no, I guess my book title, the one that I'm thinking of writing someday, I would call "In Pursuit of a Baggage-Free Relationship with God," or just a baggage-free relationship with God. Or I mean, call it the divine, I don't really care, but God just brings up shit for people, which I like, because if you can't say or hear the word God without like going, well, it's called lots of different things. Well, of course we know it's called lots of different things.
Right. Punchline is everything is it. So
exactly. Yeah.
God.
If we're gonna be really particular about it, then if we're gonna talk about God, we have to name every single thing that we've identified in existence, because that's God. So it's a useful little word that we put in there.
Yeah.
That might be my book.
Yeah. Is it like if everything's God, all we have to say, like, for this whole conversation, God, 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 God.
That would be that'd be fun. I feel like that's a Monty Python sketch.
This is good. We got a couple of minutes, and I wanted to ask my question that I've been waiting for to ask.
Oh yeah.
In this, and it's on with the human lie detector, and with your clients calling you the human lie detector. I was curious. I wonder what was like the most interesting moment of you using that ability of yours. Like if somebody said something to you like, hey, I think my spouse is cheating on me or something like that. Can you come in and have a conversation with them? Like, what was like the most like funny or outrageous like story that you have in which you got to use your abilities for something?
Yeah. I have a perfect thing in mind. So I always used to wonder when I would listen to podcasts and I'd be like, how do these guests always have the perfect stories for these questions? Because like I didn't know you're going to ask that, but I have the thing. And now I found the secret. And if anyone watching wants to know the secret, it's this: just do about 1,000 client sessions with people all over the world, and you'll have all the stories that you need. just do tons and tons and tons of work, and you're good. So anyways, so this story was in my early days of offering my free session. So at the time I called it the free Clear What's in the Way session. Now I call it Align with Ease. And I was working with a woman in the States. She's from Georgia. And she was working on the political campaign for a woman that was running for office in, I think you guys call it the primaries, like the in-between ones, the every 2 years. Mm-hmm. And she was a Democrat, the woman running. And so it was really important to, in this woman's opinion, to oust Trump. This was really important because this is, I think it's a swing state. Georgia might be a swing state. Forgive me if I'm not speaking to your politics correctly. But anyways, it's a really important election. And especially to this woman, she was one of the main people to help run the office for getting this woman elected. She wasn't the top, but she was top 3. And she was really stressed, overwhelmed, exhausted. So she came to me to help with the overwhelm and the exhaustion. And after we're talking and she shared everything, I said, okay, well, is it okay? And I always ask when I sense a big conversation, I always ask, is it okay if, like, which one do you want? Do you want me to kind of like go around the issue and we'll get to some good stuff? Or do you want me to go right to the heart? And she said, oh, right to the heart. And I said, okay. The belief that Donald Trump is evil, would you be willing to destroy that at the point of creation? And she had the same look on her face. She just went, excuse me? And I said, I repeated, she's like, no, I heard you. But how? And then she just went off for a good 5 minutes. You man, white, like just up and down. And none of what she said was wrong. It was all accurate. She was very upset. So I let her go. And then I said, so we can end the session here if you want to, or we can keep going. But did anything that I say contradict your deepest values about life and God? And she thought about it and like, no. Okay. So like I say, we can end or we can keep going. But if we're going to keep going, this is it. This is the only game in town. There's no other conversation to have. I'm not going to make this easy on you. This is all there is. And she's very brave of her. She said, okay, I don't agree, but I'm willing to go down this road. So by the end of that free session, she ended up apologizing for attacking me. And she left feeling a lot better. And I got an email from her think it was a month later or 2 months later. And she said, I never thanked you, but the next day when I walked into the office, it was as if the entire staff everyone on the team just took this collective sigh of relief, and we all just relaxed a little bit, and then we got back to work, and the stress level just went way down. So thank you. I don't know how our session affected the whole office, but it did. And I remember reading that and going, log this story. This is a keeper. Share this one every time you can. So that was probably the biggest, because it was also the very first time ever in my life that I was willing to say, look, we either finish here or we continue. But if we continue, it's on this. I'd never had the courage to back it up and say, no, this is it. There's nothing else. Like, we're not gonna fluff past this. Yeah.
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 I had to call that into the thick of it. the backyardigans. Wow. See, that's why I was happy we waited. Or I waited. Great. I decided to wait.
Couldn't have planned that better. That was great.
Yeah. And oh man, we're at is it called the top or the bottom of the hour? Because it's about to shift another hour. Isn't it like the bottom of the hour?
You can do whatever you want.
Okay. We're at the hour. So what we like to do at the end is there's a couple of things. First off, this was an amazing conversation.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Wil, for showing up. Christian, I'm on it. Thank you so much for showing yourself, being yourself, and showcase your magic, and helping one of the person in the audience, Kitty, to be able to shift something, and also help to shift everyone who is listening to this. So 2 questions for you. 1, where can people find you? What's the website? People could reach out to you on Facebook or wherever. And then number 2, what is one parting message you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, so my website is myspiritualclarity.com. And then on there, you can find, I offer a free session. So I had kind of mentioned that before with Kathi, but so Kathi, you can go to that website and it'll pop up. So that's the main website. And then the parting message would be, it's one of my favorite quotes. I listened to it before this interview. I listen to it before every single interview that I do. And it's from Bruce Lee. So there's this wonderful compilation on YouTube. It's inspirations from Bruce Lee. And I'll do the full quote. He says, honestly expressing yourself. Now, it is very difficult to do. I mean, it is easy for me to put on a show and be cocky and be flooded with a cocky feeling and then feel like pretty cool and all that. Or I can make all kinds of phony thing. You see what I mean? Blinded by it. Or I can show you some really fancy movement. But to express oneself honestly, not lying to oneself, but to express myself honestly. Now that, my friend, is very hard to do. And I let that guide me all the time, because it's so easy to go. It's so easy to not be ourselves. So to actually be fully ourselves, and with the embarrassments and the pauses and the fluff, and it's not easy.
Yeah. Peter says, I agree. As do I.
I do too. Or 3.
And of course, thank you so much for having me. It's great. I love every chance that I get to spread this message farther and get to reach more people. So thank you both for having a wonderful show. And I've been in the Facebook group for a little bit, so I see how wonderful that is. So thank you. I mean, building community and being willing to build community and hold space for community is such a unique gift and desire. And I just applaud you both, because I know how much effort that takes. So yeah. Well done.
Yeah, and thank you. Received. And yeah, it's great to have this community and having people like yourself to show up for our community to help them to expand and to learn new tools.
Yeah.
This is definitely a new tool I got to learn.
Awesome. And thank you everyone who's here, who's watching, who's participating. You're just amazing, and we're creating the magic together. And also for those of you who are new to the group and who are just joining us for the first time on this podcast, also note that we've got some really awesome free events coming up. So feel free to check those out in the group as well. And you can find Wil again at myspiritualclarity.com. All right, everyone, have a great day and
Stay magical.